Let's have a look around the tables. Start off by choosing the table: ignition, fuel, or cam angle. Let's start off and have a look at ignition. We can view the ignition settings for the low cam, in which it's tuned from 500 RPM to 8100 RPM at map pressures of 127 millibar up to about 0.5 bar. Sea level is somewhere between columns 9 and 10, roughly in this area here. The high cam is tuned with the same millibar settings, but starts at 3000 RPM and can be tuned all the way to 11,000 RPM. The ignition there are 6 different ignition tables for the different cam angles. The cam in the RSX Type S engine, the K20A2 engine and the K20A engine can rotate through 50 degrees, and here we can see the ignition settings for each of the different cam angles: 0, 10, 20 and all the way up to 50 degrees. You'll see that the settings for the ignition vary quite a bit from cam angle to cam angle, and each of the maps can be viewed in either 2D or 3D. In the 2D map, points on the map can be individually edited, so you can pick them up and move them and shape them and make them a little bit smoother. Let's have a look at fuel. In the same way, fuel varies from low cam to high cam. At 50 degrees, let's say at 2000 RPM on the low cam, we have around 1900 units of fuel. And at the 0 degree map, we have 1800. So there's a small difference at that point there. Let's have a look at the high speed cam at say 7000 RPM. We have 2275 units of fuel at 0 degrees and 2287. In some places the fuel varies a lot, in some places it varies by a little. At 3000 RPM we've got 2000 units of fuel, or 1773. So there can be easily a 10% variation in fuel from where the cam angle is set to 0 or the cam angle is set to 50. Or, as far as ignition is concerned, it's easy to get a 2 or 3 degree ignition timing between all the different tables, editing either in low or high cam. Let's have a look at the cam angle. This is one of the more important features, and it's one of the most sensitive aspects to tuning these engines. The cam can be set to any angle at any RPM or at any map position. In the case of this point here, when we're at 2250 RPM and in cruise, the computer is running roughly 30 degrees of cam advance. As we go to full throttle, at 2000 RPM the cam rotates to 20 degrees, then it increases to 30, drops down to 25, and just before we switch to VTEC switches to 40 degrees cam angle. Then when we switch onto the high speed cam, it rotates to 40 to 50 degrees, and then between 4500 RPM and 8000 RPM we're rotating the cam by 20 degrees, and that 20 degrees is required pretty much on all naturally aspirated engines we've tuned for maximum power. The better the cam and the better the breathing, particularly the exhaust, the more cam advance you can put in. So we may do something like J, Control J for adjust. We can adjust the cam angle by a percentage, but really we want to select it to a particular value of 50. To show you that menu again, adjust the commands, edit,